3, 2, 1.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of Grok Talk, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, GraniteGrok.com. We are your feared extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for more news and opinion you could only get from GraniteGrok.com.
Grok Talk.
Alrighty, thanks to Andrew Hemingway for taking a little time to talk to us this morning about the goings-on in the state. Of course, we're here at CNHT in studios. It's about 40 or 50 degrees warmer than it was last week when we were on the air, so we'd like to thank the inventor of indoors very much for this opportunity to be here. And of course, Ed Nail's with us, chairman of the Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers, and we have some great news. It's been all over the internet and social media this week because it's a glorious day. There was cheers and parades, and, well, I don't know about parades, but something wonderful happened.
We are in the high clover this
parade,
week.
but there was a pup walk.
Well, we have a out-of-state, low-life dirtball political activist who's actually registered as a Republican. His name is what used to be Carl Robert Gibson, or Carl Gibson. He's now C. Robert Gibson.
I see Robert Gibson going to jail.
C. Robert Gibson came to New Hampshire in 2012, along with some members of Credo PAC, a left-wing political action committee in San Francisco, to go after Frank Ginta and whatever politicians. And along with three other guys, this guy shows up, Carl Robert Gibson, who is registered to vote in maybe 4 other states besides New Hampshire. His car was registered in Connecticut till I turned him in to the Concord PD. He is no longer driving that car. But he's one of these guys that floats around all over the country protesting, and like in Madison, Wisconsin. He's been arrested in Texas, Illinois, New York, North Carolina. He shows up here to work for Maureen Mann in this 2015
special election with Yvonne Bailey.
Yep. Because he actually has a residence here in Concord, where he votes from on 26 Summit Street. This fellow is one of the guys we've been typical of the guys we've been tracking for years. These out-of-state voters, out-of-state activists come here because of the primary and the importance of New Hampshire and the ability to sway elections with votes still in here in New Hampshire. Some of the states you go to, it's a done deal. But here in New Hampshire, these people show up. We've been tracking them. We've been trying to catch them. Well, Gibson shows up in New Hampshire. He was very successful with the Frank Ginta event in 2012. He's back here helping this Maureen Mann for a House seat, and decides to contact the news media and say he's the young lady who's running for this open House seat in a special election, and say that she's going to drop out of the race to concentrate on her college studies. That's a felony. That's voter suppression. That's trying to lead someone to do something or not do something by false information. So he's arrested, which is unbelievable. I mean, maybe they saw Republican and they arrested him.
That could be.
I don't know. It's hard to get somebody arrested for voter fraud or election
tampering or
here, anything
things,
like that in New Hampshire. We know because we've been at it since 2000. So we got 15 years of this under our belt, and be nice if he got 7.5 to 15. But he's got 2 felonies charged against him. What happened was he got charged with voter suppression in district court in Concord. And they charge him with a misdemeanor of false paperwork, false documents. That was null prost. That means they're not going to prosecute. The case with that was dropped. And the whole case was sent to Superior Court because the suppression is a felony. When the prosecutors got the AG's offices prosecuting it, when they got it, they added conspiracy to commit to suppress votes and actual voter suppression. So because this idiot, C. Robert Gibson, admitted to the Concord Monitor that he had a few beers when he did this, it was a prank.
That's a great meme, by the way. I'm happy to have created it.
Yeah, it's very difficult to take that back now. Because, I did it. Maybe he's going to operate on it's a prank. This is not a prank. This guy's a professional. He's been doing this all over the country since before he got out of college.
And even if it's a prank, when it has real-world complications or consequences, it's still a felony.
Well, he still has a history of this. He actually did the same thing with his little group called U.S. Uncut, where they did the same type of thing to General Electric. called the AP wire service and said General Electric was about to pay $3 billion in back taxes they owe the federal government, and that made the stock of General Electric drop like billions of dollars. He should have been charged with that. He was working with a group called the Yes Men. They're political activists and guys who do this type of thing all over the country. So he was part of that group. He is not a novice. He's not somebody who came here and volunteered and had one too many beers. He is a tactical, professional, campaign dirty trickster. And we caught him. He's been indicted on these 2 felonies, and I think the one thing he has going for him, his lack of a need of a girlfriend may serve him well in a New Hampshire prison. So right now he's holed up. Yeah, he's holed up on his.
You mean as in don't drop the soap, Robert?
Who knows what's going to happen to him? But he'll be.
See Robert bend over.
He'll be in jail if the New Hampshire juries like the grand jury that looked at the evidence says there's enough to indict. Well, yeah, you admitted it to the papers. He will serve some time, hopefully serve some time, if the New Hampshire Attorney General's office doesn't screw this case up.
Which it probably will.
We know that I'm going to hint that they throw cases on purpose, like the one they did with the meaning of domicile. The AG's office represented New Hampshire voters when they went to court in Stratford County, I believe, Supreme Court, regarding the case of student voters. Before the case was held, they agreed that domicile meant residence and residence meant domicile. That was an agreement made on page 6 of the Anna Marie Guerre versus New Hampshire case recently. So when you go into court prepared to lose your case, you lose your case. We're hoping that whoever prosecutes C. Robert Gibson isn't prepared to lose the case. So that's the one stumbling block we have. But our job is to make voters and people in New Hampshire and the New Hampshire media aware that this is not some random 3-beer dizzy idiot who made a bad phone call. He's a professional. He did this on purpose with intent to lower the Republican turnout in that election and get this left-wing moonbat Maureen Mann reelected to the House. That's his job. He did it. He got caught. He deserves 3 years in jail. And if he does go there, oh boy, we're gonna mail him a cake without a file in it and have a party. I'm gonna get some fake glasses and fake champagne and have a real toast to him staying in jail for a long time.
So Ed, you intrigued me when you mentioned his prior transgressions with U.S. Uncut. Mm-hmm. Seems to me that potentially there's some financial fraud going on, and we should be looking to see if Credo or C. Robert Gibson or any of the people involved in this actually were making money. If you cause a company's stock to tank like that, you've got 2 opportunities to make big money because you're the one causing the move to happen.
Correct.
Therefore, you could have shorted the stock and made money on the way down, and then you could have bought it at the bottom and ridden it back up.
Yeah, that's exactly what these guys are. More political saboteurs than they are smart enough to do something like that. But people, their periphery, would probably know enough to say, hey, here's a great time to buy some stock. That was never investigated. He was never charged for that. But that is part of his history. So when he comes to New Hampshire and says, I had too many beers and I made this call, you have to take into the fact that he works with and was trained by the Yes Men. He has done this before with U.S. Uncut, which is a registered New Hampshire nonprofit. It's registered at 26 Summit Street, which is actually a post office address. It's not his real address. His real address is 85 Summit Street. Somewhere in that condo or that apartment complex, there's a door number. That's what his address should reflect on his voter registration card, not the mailing address that the post office gave him. It takes us a while to track these low-life dirtballs down because they always seem to have some phony address, some goofy vehicle owned by somebody else, but somebody is paying this guy. And the state of New Hampshire and the Republican Party have an opportunity to expose the underbelly of how this works. Their candidates are put under immense pressure by people like this year after year after year, and we're not hearing a peep out of them.
No, and you won't, because the Republican Party is too concerned with the finger being pointed back at it because of Jeb Bradley's son. And so they'll do nothing. Besides, it seems that Jennifer Horn, the chair of the NHGOP, is too convinced that she has to take on young conservative Republicans, as we just talked about with Andrew Hemingway, So, if they want to drive the Conservatives out of the party, let them, because there's always that phrase, we may not win, but you will certainly lose.
Yeah, the sad part is a lot of political activists that get jobs working on campaigns get paid either way. That's the sad part of this, that the people that jump on campaigns, there's a lot of candidates in New Hampshire right now, and they're looking to hire people to help them out.
Except for Jeb Bush.
Yeah. Jeb's a little problem, I guess, with some staff. It's always best to cut it back.
But it's from a position of strength, he said.
Yeah, it's one of those squirrely things that happens. But anyway, C. Robert Gibson, and I'm now using C. Robert Gibson.
Exhibit A, squirrely thing.
I'm using C. Robert Gibson from now on when I describe him. It used to be Carl Robert Gibson. And
C. Robert Gibson is going to be the source of so many jokes. C. Robert Gibson Ben, C. Robert Gibson
Pick
Run.
up the soap, yeah. Well, C. Robert Gibson writes for Al Jazeera. He writes for a bunch of different websites, and he popped out an article the other day on October 22nd. I actually made a comment in it. It took my comment. Like, why don't you write about voter fraud in New Hampshire? Voter suppression. So I'm going to be doing a lot more of that. I've had to bite my tongue.
He could be working for Alcoholics Anonymous. After 3 beers, don't call the Concord Monitor and tell him that you're a 19-year-old girl dropping out of an election.
The sad part is he's not a very bright guy. I mean, he went to Moorhead College in Kentucky, so I thought he had 2 brain cells to rub together. But I've met him. I've talked to him. We haven't talked about this yet, but we did talk about the time I went to district court and sat down next to a guy I thought was an attorney. Carl sat in between me and him and unknowingly discussed his case with his attorney with me sitting within 10 inches of him. So there was another meeting between Carl and I. On his arraignment, I went in, and it was some sort of scheduling here or something in August. I went down to district court, and he was sitting there already waiting for me when I went in. So I didn't know if he knew me or not. So I walked right past him and sat down. He came back and put his arm on my shoulder and said, there's a Buddhist chant. This is how weird this guy is. There's a Buddhist chant you can chant to release your inner demons. And I said, yeah, Carl, I am who you think I am. And he goes, humna, himna, humna. You can't even make this stuff up. Humna, himna, humna. I said, yeah, is that the same chant, Carl, that you used when you were calling Yvonne Dean Bailey's, pretending to be her? Humna, himna. I said, Carl, how'd you get here? I said, you don't have a car anymore. Did you walk here? Humna, himna, humna. He asked me, do you consider yourself a religious person, Ed? I said, no, I consider myself a stalker. He's sitting here with his arm around. I said, and you're it. So he's chatting more about this Buddhist chant that would give me inner peace. And I said, I don't really need inner peace. I just need to know how you got here. What are you going to do when you go to jail? Stuff like that. And I said, oh, by the way, they called your courtroom, and we're still sitting here. You're supposed to be in your courtroom right now, so everybody else is. And he jumps up, and so we walk together down towards courtroom 1. And I said, you have one thing. I want to give you a parting shot here, Carl. You have one thing going for you. The guy prosecuting you is a moron. So, good luck. And I said, we'll see you at the next event.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, maybe we can find out some progress on any of the other states that might have something to say about Mr. Gibson. We will check into that in a minute. I'm Steve McDonald here with Ed Nail, Mike Rogers, Skip Murphy. This is Grok Talk. We'll be right back.
Grok Talk comes to you live almost every Saturday morning from 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, granitegrok.com. You can also listen live at Spreaker.com. If you missed a live show, catch up with the podcast at granitegrok.com, Spreaker.com, on Stitcher Radio, at iTunes, TuneIn, or iHeartRadio, and now on The Rock, New Hampshire's Christian radio station, therocknhcr.com. Grok Talk is a mobile-ready broadcast, so you can listen anywhere, anytime, on your PC, laptop, tablet, or smartphone.
Grok Talk. Rock Talk.